It's 5 after. We'll give it one more minute. We had some late registers. So one more minute and we'll get started. I see some familiar names in the chat. Welcome back.
And let's make sure that everybody's muted.
Yes, please. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today at our Rebuilding with Resilience webinar. This is the webinar that we hold every other Monday that gives a brief overview of what we do here at PHNX. A few housekeeping rules, please keep your microphones muted. We'd really appreciate it. This is a live Q&A, so we encourage you to write your questions in the chat at any time, and I'll be monitoring the chat and make sure that all the questions are answered. We have a special guest today, as you may have seen. So if you've been with us before, you'll learn a few more new things, and our goal is to always have something a little bit different and some new information at every webinar, so feel free to come back. These webinars are recorded and they live on our YouTube channel, so you can go back and watch past webinars, and this one will go live on YouTube within the next 24 hours once it's complete. I'll walk you through our agenda today. We're going to do some introductions, talk about our non-combustible construction, have a high-level overview of our streamlined process. We'll introduce you to Mitsubishi, who we're very excited and thank Ken so much for being here. And then we'll get to any questions that weren't answered during the chat. I will monitor and try to throw questions in as appropriate, but if not, we'll get to them at the end. First of all, I just want to say, if you've lost your home, we're very sorry. Here at PHNX, we're very heartbroken by the loss that a lot of our clients and those coming here are experiencing. It's very devastating, and we know it's very overwhelming. And we're going to try to keep this presentation not complicated and easy to follow, and it won't take too long. So I'm going to introduce you to our team. We have some rock stars here that bring about a century of combined experience to the table, and we're excited to put all of that experience to work for you to design and build your forever home. First and foremost, this is Lori Fisher. She's our CEO and founder. She has 30 years experience in architecture, design, and construction. She has a stunning portfolio of homes, and she's been designing and building with ICF, the insulated concrete form, since 2011. My name is Sarah. I'm the Chief Operations Officer. I manage our streamlined process and our client care system to try to make this a seamless experience for all of our homeowners. We have Kendra Kettlehut here. She's our senior designer. She has 20 years of award-winning design experience, and she's designing beautiful homes already, some of you that are here even. Adam Gill is our permitting coordinator. He's our in-house plan checker. He is a certified building official who has already reviewed and approved PHNX home plans. He knows our process inside and out and makes it a very smooth process when we go to permit. And we have Andre Noel, our construction supervisor. He is called the Miracle Worker. I hear somebody that sounds adorable. I think it's Mike's iPad. Hang on. I'm going to mute you, Mike. He has 25 years in construction experience. He's fluent in Spanish, French, and English. He has such a high quality to detail, and he's amazing to have working on your home and on site. We also have Carla, our client care director, that some of you may have already started talking to. She's our dedicated client advocate and helps us keep everything just very streamlined and smooth. With that, I'm going to pass it off to Lori and to let her share a little bit about PHNX and how we started and where we come from.
Well, thank you, Sarah. That's an excellent introduction. And yes, that our team is definitely top-notch, top level. So yes, I've been an architect for a long time now, I guess I can say. But I did start working with fire survivors after the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa back in 2018. And after the heartbreaking things that I saw um, at that, during that, excuse me, I just got distracted for a second. Sarah, could you send Andre Noel the link for the
Yes, I will. I will share that. You're welcome.
Yeah, Andre Noel is actually on site right now, so things are probably a little chaotic for him.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so back to our presentation. So I was working with the Tubbs fire survivors in Santa Rosa, and I was just devastated by not only the devastation itself, but the aftermath and what everybody had to go through, the difficulties they had in rebuilding their homes. Not finding out until the last minute that their budget was $400,000 or $500,000 over what they thought, and being stuck in that process after having spent so much money, and just so many challenges. And that's what inspired me to solve these problems and work to build better homes in a better way. And therefore I founded Phoenix. Now, the number one thing that they would say when I'd say, well, what do you want the most? Well, we don't want this to happen again. So then that's when I knew these homes had to be non-combustible per code, which means there's no wood in the structure, nothing that can burn. So that's what I set out to do, and here we are 5 years later, and we are finally ready to share this technology with as many people as possible and get as many of you back on your feet as we can as quickly as possible. That's our
Oh, sorry. I'm using arrows. Thanks. Okay.
So yes, you probably know this by now, but just in case you don't. So we are the first and only home builder in the United States doing what we do. So if anybody tells you, oh yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who are doing that, you haven't, and they're not. So our homes are permitted as type 1A non-combustible, which means there is no wood in the structure. And Sarah, we lost the,
Oh, okay.
my goodness.
Now,
There's,
here we go.
okay. Excuse us, folks.
I know.
Wow, okay. So yeah, I mean, a very important aspect of putting this together was understanding that it's not enough to just say, hey, we're non-combustible. Hey, we're fire safe. No, it really had to be per code because the code has a definition of what non-combustible is. So if we go to the next slide. So there's 5 different what we call construction types in the building code. And we use those construction types to kind of determine how big our building can be, or vice versa. We have a building that has a function and it has so many stories and we want to have so many people in it. Well, the code kind of tells us what type that building has to be. So if I'm building a skyscraper, I really don't have a choice. I have to build it type 1. If I'm building a home, I do have a choice, but all of our homes are really built in type 4, or excuse me, type 5, which is the most combustible construction type you can build per code. So we've gone all the way to the other end of the spectrum. And so the only other buildings that are built as type 1A are skyscrapers, stadiums, megaplex theaters, things like that, where there's a lot of people, where it could be a very dangerous environment if there's a fire. And so that's where Phoenix is. That's where we are. And the The other thing that you'll hear people say a lot is if we're going to build in anything other than wood, then it's going to be more expensive. And I knew that that was an issue, and so that was also a very important goal of ours. I knew that this would not work if it was more expensive. So we came up with a number of various innovations. Everything's streamlined, not only the design, but the construction is streamlined as well. And so the economies that we've made in the process save time, save labor, eliminate a number of inspections. And so all of this adds up to savings. And so our concrete and steel budget is obviously going to be higher than in a typical build, but we save money in all these other areas and we save time in all these other areas. So it compensates. So we wind up with a home that is built better, built faster, and it's a true forever home. And it doesn't cost any more than a standard build. And here's just an example of how much time we can save. You'll see that I would say our two biggest savings are in the roof and in the stucco. So our roof, that's where our big innovation is. We have a patent pending on our PHNX long span system, and it's the only framing system that exists that basically enables us to get rid of plywood sheeting in the roof. So that's our secret sauce. And so the way the long span system works, and we'll talk about that really quick in a second, the way the long span system works, we can frame the roof in one day. And then when we roof with our insulated roof panels, we install those in one day. So the time that we save on roof installation alone has a huge impact to the budget. And so drilling down to, some of the more specific things, and here's the thing, type 1A, anything in the building code with regards to fire is always intended to get people out. It's intended to save lives. It's not intended to save your structure, save your home, save your building. The building code, all they care about is getting people out safe and sound. So there's a lot of things in the building code that will not protect a home from wildfire. Sure, there's been advances with, I'm sure all of you have heard about WUI, those fire codes in California and things like that. But yes, that's an improvement, but there's still a lot of things that are lacking in that WUI code that don't protect your home from fire that comes from outside in. Okay, so there's things that we actually exceed type 1A on. So the first one is that type 1A only requires 3-hour walls. That means that they can be in proximity to flames for 3 hours and they're going to maintain their integrity. And so for us, we go 4 hours. Now, and remember, maintaining integrity does not mean that it's going to fall apart after 4 hours. Absolutely not. It just means that after 4 hours of sustained, continuous, high temperatures in proximity to that wall, you might see some cosmetic damage. But, all in all, there's nothing on our home that's going to ignite. So I just want to be clear about that. But so we go beyond the 3 hours and our exterior walls are 4-hour rated. Also, we have no roof vents. And I know that you guys talk a lot about ember intrusion, and I think a lot of you are pretty well educated on that point now. But we just said, you know what, we don't want roof vents at all, and then we don't have to worry about it. So in a PHNX, we don't have an attic, we don't have any roof vents, so we don't have to worry about any embers entering the house anywhere. And our windows are non-combustible from the exterior. The code says nothing about what material your windows can be, even the WUI regulations. So you could spend all of this money hardening your home, but then have vinyl windows. And I think we can all imagine what happens in high temperatures with vinyl. So, so we have aluminum clad. It's a heavier gauge aluminum, powder coated. Our windows are Sierra Pacific windows. And by the way, we'll have a webinar in a couple weeks, I think, with Sierra Pacific, so they can talk about their windows and why we chose them. So here's just a few ways that we even exceed type 1A. And so, Sarah. And so just a quick illustration as to, again, the economies and the streamlining that we've achieved with Phoenix. So here is an actual real sheet from structural drawings for one of my last wood projects that I had when I was still in private practice. I don't design in wood anymore. I can't bring myself to design in wood anymore. So I want you guys to remember this image whenever somebody tells you that wood is easier. This is a schedule of all the fasteners that go into a wood home. Okay? You can see there's a lot. I mean, I haven't counted them, but I would guess it's probably 100 or so different fasteners that go into a home. And so that, that's a lot, right? So if we go to the next slide, you'll see these are all the fasteners that go into a Phoenix. We have A307 bolts, Tech 5 screws, Tapcons for screwing into concrete, and number 10 self-drilling screws that we use to put together our metal studs. That's it. So I think it's a lot easier to understand how we can achieve the economies that we do. And then, delving further, so these are the structural components in a Phoenix. I mean, a slide like this for a traditional wood home, I don't think we could do it on one slide. When we get into all the different components, all the clips, the hangers, the hold downs, the anchor bolts, the plates, the straps, everything that has to go in, plus insulation, plus. This is it. These are the structural components that make up a Phoenix home. So we can, and I just wanted to throw this slide in here because we get a lot of questions. I mean, obviously, the question we get most often is, how much does it cost? How much, of course, everybody wants to know that, and it's an important question, clearly. But what's frustrating, construction is just a completely different animal than anything else you've ever bought. But I think the closest would be a car. So, if I ask you, how much does a car cost? What's your answer going to be? I mean, a car can cost $5,000. A car can cost $250,000. If a car, let's say, I'm telling you, oh, you can have a car for $45,000. And then you go into the dealer for that car, and at the end of an hour, all of a sudden you're up to $60,000. Well, you told me the car was 45. Well, that was before you said you wanted leather seats and you wanted the sports package and all-wheel drive and da-da-da-da-da. So that's why when as difficult as that question would be to answer about a car, it's 5 times more difficult to answer in construction, because at least a car exists. At least we can point to that car and say, this car is for sale, it exists, and this is the price. It's not that way with a home that we have to yet design for you. So that's something I think that's really hard for people to understand. We can't put a price on something that doesn't exist, and we don't even have drawings for it yet. And this slide I wanted to share with you because I think it helps explain some very important items. So number one, it explains why I have such a pet peeve about square foot costs. Because square footage can mean a lot of different things. So in the first table, what we're looking at are 3 different square footage calculations for the same size of a home. So normally it's what I call the Zillow square footage. It's, you look up a home and on the Zillow, and it tells you, gives you this square foot number, okay? Well, that square foot number is not what the number that we're going to use for construction cost. Typically, that Zillow number doesn't include the garage. It may not even include utility areas. It probably doesn't include the stair areas. And quite often, it's interior square footage only. It doesn't even go to the exterior face of the walls. So it's that square foot number is not really accurate. And so construction, usually what you're going to see is what we call the built square footage. So this number goes to all of the exterior faces of wall, and it includes the garage. So it's the entire what we call envelope of the building, okay, the enclosed building. So you can see in this example, so suddenly this 3-bedroom, 3.5-bath home is not 3,000 square feet, it's 4,000 square feet, probably because it has a 3-car garage. Now, then again, so you can have that 4,000 square foot number, but if you want decks and covered patios or maybe a big covered porch, those are things that we need to build too. Those are things that have footings and walls and rebar and steel decking and maybe a roof. So those structural elements cost money too. Decks and patios aren't free. So if we have a lot of decks and patios, then look, this might, that's a big deck and a big covered patio underneath it, but that is going to dramatically change the cost of that home. So the cost of a 4,000 square foot home with a deck is going to be a lot more than the cost of a 4,000 square foot home without a deck. So that's basically the overview of the different types of square footage. Now, and so just to illustrate it further, let's take a $1.6 million budget for that home. So look at the different per square foot numbers you get. And this isn't like if, if I have exotic hardwood flooring versus luxury vinyl tile. That's not what I'm talking about. All three of these square foot estimate cost is the exact same budget. It's the exact same project. It's just that we're counting the square footage differently. What's included in that square footage number makes the difference for that cost per square foot. So I just wanted to share this with you because I think it's a source for a lot of confusion, and we have trouble communicating to folks when they ask us these questions. And so we're trying our best to give you the answers that you're looking for, and help you understand a little bit more what this alien world of design and construction is like. So I think so now I think I'm going to hand it off to Kendra, our senior designer, and she's going to walk you through our design process.
Hi guys. So I see some familiar names on there. So welcome and nice to see you again. So we will get started. Obviously, most of us are not here because we're looking to, you wanted a new home. This is part of the process that I really want to get us excited about is looking at the aspects of the home that you had and taking those elements that you loved, and let's figure out how to incorporate them into your new home. And then figuring out the things that you didn't love so much and maybe areas that we can improve, and elevating those and fixing those areas and bringing new solutions into your new home. So we'll start that off with a 2-hour kickoff call. So before that, I'd like you to start thinking about those things, the things that you love, the things that you maybe didn't love so much, and also like looking at Pinterest, looking at images, things that you are inspired by. And so we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about the fun, imagery and all of that. We'll also talk about the program. So what was in your home? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? How that flows together. And we'll get a lot of great information, and that's why it's 2 hours, to put together all the information for your first initial design concept. And typically it takes a couple of meetings, a couple of design reviews, but we will put together in that first design concept. I don't know if you want to go to the next slide because we do talk about the schedule a little bit.
Okay.
And then these are some of the renderings and some of the images that you will get from that first design call. So after our kickoff, our first design meeting, we'll have floor plans. It'll have a 3D model with windows, doors, rooms, everything built in. We will not have materials at this point because we're still in the very first iterations, but you will have a full model of your home to walk through and look at. So once we get through that first review, we usually don't hit it right on the nail the first time, but we will try to get as close as we possibly can. And then we'll do some revisions based on that call, and we'll put together another design meeting for you. And we'll get that to the point where you sign off on the concept design. Once we get that signed off, then you can take a little break. We'll put together our construction document set that's going to get ready for permit. Once we get ready and we make sure that it's reviewed before permit, sent in for permit, then you will come back and meet with me again, and we will go through all of the fun interiors. So all of the materials and finishes, and we'll go through a very, there's so many decisions that can be made at this point, and we have really done a great job at PHNX with our Vision Builder program to not only give you plenty of options, but to not make it overwhelming. So there's different palettes and things that you can choose from. Everything coordinates and goes together seamlessly. So we'll take some time while we're waiting in permits, reviewing our drawings, and then we'll be efficient with our time and get the decisions made for all the interior finishes. And then once we have those decisions made and we get the permit in hand, that's when we get into construction. So the whole process all the way through, we are making this as simple and as streamlined as possible for you guys. So hopefully not only is it streamlined and easy to understand, but it's also really, really fun. And we hope to bring all of that into the design process with you. Go to the next one. And this would be back to Lori.
Sorry, guys, I was trying to chow down the.
I mean, I can talk about Mercury too, if you'd like. I can just keep on going.
Yes, and so in addition to being the first and only home builder in the nation to be building non-combustible net zero homes, we are also the first ever home builder to have forged an alliance with an insurance company. So back in November, we formed an alliance with Mercury Insurance. They have already written policies for our PHNX homes, and you would be astounded at the discount. I mean, I'm not able to share actual numbers with you, but I can say that it is a mind-blowing discount. That it's a life-changing type of discount. And so not only if you build a PHNX, you will have insurance, but you'll be paying. I mean, one of our clients actually pays less in insurance now than they did before they lost their home in a fire. So, so that's what you would have. One of the many things you would have to look forward to if you decide to build a PHNX home for your forever home. And I think that that's it, at least from the PHNX end of things. And so I'd like to introduce Ken. He's the regional sales manager for Mitsubishi HVAC. And he's going to present his systems. And so take it away, Ken.
Okay, thank you. And thanks so much for having me. And glad to have a chance to talk to you all about one of the important decisions you'll need to make in terms of having a very comfortable home. This opening slide is showing a system that's zoned so that you could have different temperatures in different rooms and can be more efficient and not heating and cooling spaces that you're not using. But if you can go to the next slide, please, Sarah. So we all have heat pumps in our house, and that's what we're going to talk about today is heat pumps, because that's what Mitsubishi makes, and that's what's, I'm sure if you're following the news at all, you're hearing a lot about heat pumps. They're becoming much more popular, and sales of heat pumps are greatly exceeding those of gas furnaces these days. And of course, in California, in many places, you cannot install gas furnaces anymore. But if anyone is a little bit unclear or unsure of whether or not they understand what heat pumps are, we've all had them in our houses forever. What a refrigerator does is it takes heat out of the space inside the refrigerator and exhausts it to the back of the fridge. So if you've ever been behind a refrigerator, you'll feel the warm air coming off of it. But heat pumps were actually invented in the 1850s. And so it's not a new technology, and it's just been advanced a lot over the years. For Mitsubishi, we have a lot of different design choices. The one at the top left corner is called a horizontal ducted unit, and that is something that has been used quite a bit in the PHNX designs because it is it's something that can be concealed, and the homeowner will just see the regular register supplies that you're used to seeing, and they're oftentimes used in homes where people don't want to see something on the wall or on the ceiling. So those are very popular in custom homes. But we also do make ductless products, the ceiling cassettes, the wall mounts, and then the one in the standing on its side there, the dark gray or almost black color. Looks a lot like a furnace, but it's a heat pump air handler. And it happens to be what I have in my own home. And I can tell you from personal experience that these make your house a lot more comfortable. We replaced a gas furnace with that air handler, and my wife, who's always freezing, said, "Why are our floors so much warmer now in the winter?" So there's a definite comfort level that you'll find, and part of that has to do with the temperature that the air is delivered, and then how it cycles to hold the temperature versus a gas furnace. These are what the outdoor units look like, and if you're used to an air conditioner, you can see that these are pretty different. They're smaller, and they have a side discharge, so the air is going to come out of the side instead of the top. What you can't tell from this picture is that they are much, much quieter. We could actually be doing this presentation with these running in the background, and we'd be able to have a conversation on normal voice levels versus shouting over them. So that's a real advantage of this type of technology. So all of the technology that Mitsubishi has is variable capacity. And what that means is that it can ramp up and ramp down. And if you think about your foot on the accelerator pedal of your car, when you don't need a lot of gas, you can just press it a little bit and go 5, 10, 20 miles per hour. But when you need a lot of speed, you can step on a little bit harder and go up to the speed limit or well beyond. And that's kind of how the variable capacity units work as well. So if your set point is, say, 70 degrees in the winter, and your house is at 69.5, then this unit will just be in cruise control, adding a little bit of heat to the space to get to that level. But if your room, let's say you came home from vacation and you wanted it again at 70, but you came home and it was 65, then the system is going to ramp up to give you extra heat so that you can get to that set point more quickly. And it's very economically efficient, saves about 40%. You'll see the greatest savings during the summer with air conditioning. And the really interesting thing about this is that for every unit of energy you put in, you'll get between 2 to 5 units of energy out. And so that's why you can get those significant savings. There are also a lot of different capacities. In this case, we don't have to worry too much, but you can get down to 0.5 ton or go up to over 5 tons. You can do the zoning. Even with the horizontal ducted ones that we showed, you could have your house divided into 2, 3, or 4 zones, as many as you want, really. And then, like I said, much quieter, and that variable capacity sets it apart. This type of technology is newer to the US, although we've been here since I think 1980 or 82 with this technology. But the rest of the world, this is what they use. So we've been a little bit behind the curve in the US and Canada, but we are catching up pretty quickly. But you can see if you've traveled outside of the US, you've definitely seen variable capacity products all over the world. And this slide is showing kind of what I talked about with the variable capacity. So it's a little bit small, the images are, but the one on the left, the conventional compressor, this is what you probably had in your home in the summer when you needed air, the system turned on or the furnace turned on and you got a blast of hot or cold air, then it shut off. And then the temperature drifted up or down a few degrees, and then it would come back on and off. And it doesn't really get comfortable because what doesn't happen is the floor, the walls, the ceiling, and the furniture, they don't really get a chance to adjust to that set point. The reason heat pumps and variable capacity heat pumps do a better job is that they have long run cycles at low energy. And so it gives the space plenty of time to adjust to that temperature. And I've used these little, temperature, infrared temperature guns, which you may have seen. You can buy them for $25, $30 on Amazon. And I've checked the temperature of our floor and our ceiling and walls. And it's been amazing. If the set point was 70, almost everything was within a degree or so of that temperature. And even the floor and ceiling, which with the traditional system, you might see a 5 or 10 degree difference between those. But with our variable capacity heat pump, we were looking at between 1 and 2 degrees difference, which is pretty phenomenal. And that's where the comfort comes in. So we can go to the next slide and either open it for questions, or if you want me to show the product, Sarah, I'm happy to do either one.
We can move. I don't see anybody asking questions in the chat, so I think we'll.
Okay. All right, I'll just show you some pictures of the equipment. So first of all, this will be a wall mount. If you can click. Okay, so this is what we call our designer series. Some people are not crazy about wall mount units. These are attempts to make them look more aesthetically pleasing. They don't stick in the room quite as much, so about, I think, 3 inches shallower. And they come in 3 different colors. We thought at Mitsubishi that when we came out with these different color options that people would choose non-white ones, but it turns out white was still the most popular color. But that's just one of the wall mounts we have. And if you click through to the next image, it will show it in a room here. So not a bad look if you want, if you're okay with the wall mount to get the designer series. And then this is a low wall unit. These are actually popular in some markets, for example, the New England states that are used to having radiators. And these do a really good job in colder climates, not so common in Southern California. Mm. One-way ceiling set. This product came out about 5 years ago and it's been a huge success for us. People that don't want them on the wall, don't want them on the ceiling. And so this gets it off the kind of out of the eye view and gets it up where people are used to seeing grills or supply registers returns on the ceiling. So this fits between 16-inch on center joists, and yeah, it does a really great job in zoning different spaces. This is kind of a similar product, but instead of the air coming out of one direction, it comes out of all 4 sides. And oftentimes this gets installed in living, dining, kitchen areas where it could be put in the center of the room versus the previous one I showed you, the one-way cassette would be at the edge of the room, blowing into the space. And then this is the one that Phoenix has been using in their homes. We call it a horizontal ducted unit. And it comes in a variety of capacities from 3/4 of a ton on up. And this, the dimensions vary based on how, on the capacity of the system. But if you look at the right side there, there's kind of a bluish hose bib there. That is condensate drain, a condensate drain. So all of these systems, I'll point out on this one because it's easier to see, but all of these systems are connected to the outdoor unit by 2 copper lines. And Sarah, maybe you can point at those 2 nibs sticking out there, the copper ones. That's what will connect the indoor unit to the outdoor unit. That's kind of the cycle that that's created. And then that blue, like I said, is the condensate drain, because like any air conditioner, it's going to take humidity out of the space in the summer. And then you'll drain from there into a utility room, into a sink, something like that. And let's see, these are extremely quiet. These get used actually in recording studios, where it's very important to have as little noise as possible. And they can fit in soffits or attics. And they work well with flat roofs where there's no attic space. Lori, do you know where these are typically located in the PHNX homes? Are they in the ceilings or soffits?
Okay, sorry about that. I was on mute. Yeah, we basically have 2 different places where, I mean, 2. We either make a mechanical attic, usually above the laundry, Costco room, and or a bathroom. But we only do an attic when the attic is where we have to put, because we also have a whole house fan that gets integrated into this ducted system. And so, you know, when we have, or we'll have that, and we might even have 2 of these units up there because it's serving 2 parts of the house.
Right.
However, in other areas where we want to add zones, our PHNX long span system is 16 inches deep. We can span up to 32 feet, and we can space up to 8 feet on center with our joists.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
right, I actually, I realized I forgot to mention that. That's our patent pending technology. I completely forgot to talk about that. Yeah, so basically we have all the room in the world to put these units, and so we can really, we can put them anywhere. You know, if somebody wants 5 or 6 zones in their house, we can do that easily.
Yeah. Okay. That's great.
That's a good question. Question, what is the average cost of adding a heat pump, and is it included in the build cost?
It's absolutely included, because we can't build a house without providing heat per code. And obviously, we're not going to build a house that isn't heated and cooled. And like Ken was saying, it's really, I mean, the conversation these days should be about maintaining that constant temperature, because that up and that down, that's what's super inefficient.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you combine this technology with insulating concrete forms, with this incredible stability that we have in the indoor temperature. So this system with the ICF, I mean, honestly, you're hardly going to have to run it.
Right. Yeah. And so airtight your homes are too, which is something that keeps the loads, we call them, the heating and cooling load calculations that are done. The amount of capacity you need is much, much less than a typical home. So that's a big advantage of doing these insulated concrete form homes as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is just an illustration of what these horizontal ducted units would look like if they were installed, for example, in an attic or soffit. But you would have a return grill just like you normally would. And you can see that this is in heating mode right now. So it's sucking in cold air from the right side of the slide. Then it's getting into this horizontal ducted unit, and the air is being heated through the refrigerant and the heat transfer. And then you have ductwork, just like you're used to seeing, that's going to feed to a supply register and push the air into the various rooms that are being served by that unit. One thing I want to mention too, I keep saying heat pump, but some people may not realize that these do heating and cooling. And it's just actually a switching valve that changes the direction of the flow of the refrigerant and makes it go from heating to cooling. So it does both. You don't need a separate system for one or the other.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, so I love this diagram. And so in a typical Phoenix, I mean, this is all budget allowing, right? So I mean, we can definitely do one 1,800 square foot home with one fan coil, and have this, and a fan coil is that compact ducted unit. That's the rectangle box that's in that drawing. But if we want to have multiple zones, this layout, we might have, for instance, in our Yosemite house that we had a webinar live from about a month ago, that house has 3 zones. So we have 3 of those rectangular boxes on the inside of the house. We have 1 for downstairs. We have 1 for the upstairs living area, kitchen, great room, etc. And then we have 1 for the guest room. And so you can imagine the one for the guest room is super small. And the biggest one is actually in the lower level, because that's the largest area. But so what Ken was talking about with this variable speed system and, reversing the direction of the coolant, it's so efficient that you could, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, okay, but you could have somebody in the bedroom cranking it up to 85 degrees, and at the same time have somebody taking the, bedroom in the lower level down to 65, and that same heat pump is going to serve both of those. Is that correct?
Actually, they don't work that way. You can only be in one mode at a time. So what it's going to do is it's going to satisfy one of the zones, and then it would switch itself with
Okay.
a valve to do the other one.
But really quick like that, right? So it's not like you won't be able to perceive that switch.
Yeah, I think it takes about maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes maybe to make the switch. But yeah, typically what we see is there wouldn't usually be a dramatic change. I mean, most people are going to want 65 and somebody else wants 85. But if that were the case, yeah, then it would take a little while to do the switch. We're hoping that they'll keep it more in the, I want 68 and my wife wants 72 or something like that.
We got a couple of good questions. The first is, where are the copper lines in finished home product?
Sure.
And the second question is, our previous AC unit required annual tune-up. What is the maintenance on the heat pumps?
Okay.
Oh, there's a third question. What determines placement of an exterior unit?
Okay. So the line set, we call it line set, those 2 copper lines, they are wrapped in insulation, and they, if you can point to the outdoor unit there, Sarah,
Okay, this right here.
and then that line going up, that would be the line set. But in the case of a new home, it's going to be inside the walls and attic, so you would not see it. It would poke through the wall and be sealed and insulated around it, but it's going to be in the walls, which is normal for almost any house, the same as if you had just an air conditioning system. And then the placement of the outdoor unit, maybe Lori, I'll let you talk about that in terms of, we recommend not having it in the sun where it's going to get really baked. And if you're, yeah, if possible, probably on the north side would be ideal, but Lori, you can certainly comment on that.
Yeah. So here, I was just looking for some images, I think.
Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, if I can.
Oh, wow.
While you're doing that, I'll just say to Dawn, the maintenance, we do recommend annual maintenance as well, just to keep the system running well. It does come with the standard warranty is 10 years on the equipment, but if it's maintained, it really should last, 15 to 25 years. So the better maintained, the longer it will last, obviously.
So this was a video that I did recently, a walkthrough of the Yosemite house. We're much farther along now. We're actually in the final stretch here. So looking up.
Everyone can see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this is what I was talking about, a sort of above the ceiling mechanical attic. This is above the laundry Costco room in the bathroom. And so in the center of your screen here, you see the Brown whole house fan. And then on either side, here are these compact ducted units. And so Dawn, in answer to your question, so here's the copper and these insulated tubes coming through. So they're coming out of there. And then as we go down, we walk through here. That was looking at the drywall, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. So that's going to be a return duct up there. So this is a guest bedroom that's going to have its own zone all by itself. And so you can see the refrigerant lines right here. And those get hidden in the wall. So we cut away the foam and those lines get hidden in the wall and they go basically outside right there. And so it's going to be on the exterior of the house that we have two compressors, two heat pumps on the outside of the house. And even someone in this room is not going to hear those units running.
Yeah.
And so up here, you can see the ducting that we have. And this is our PHNX long span system. So you can see all the room that we have. And I think I have another video. Now here I'd like to, oops, sorry. All of the house? Nope. There we go. So I'm looking.
Wow. What a
Sorry
view.
about that. I could swear. Okay, so here, I guess I did not look up. I thought I did. Sorry about that, folks. There is a unit. There we go. I thought I did. So there's the other unit that is serving the lower level. And you can see how that tucks right up into our PHNX Longspan ceiling system.
And
So
Lori, do you want to point at the condensate drain line, the white one?
the white one, yeah.
So that's what's going to take the condensate out and drop it probably in the utility room or
In the bathroom. This is a
bathroom.
bathroom right here. And so I don't know if we can see it very well, but that white tube basically comes through the ceiling and down into that bathroom. So you follow it this way and it goes down into the bathroom and then it joins up with the sink in the bathroom. So that's where the condensate goes. And then again, here's the refrigerant, those refrigerant lines coming into the unit. So I can stop.
Yeah. I think that's probably fine for me in terms of images. The other ones are ones that that's the air handler, like I was mentioning earlier, which can do a whole house also. It comes in a variety of sizes.
So this one isn't intended for zoned use.
It could be actually, especially larger homes, it could be used for zones. But the advantage of the one you have, Lori, that you're using is it's flatter. It's about 10 inches tall, whereas this one would be 18 to 24 inches. Even on its side, it would be much bigger. So you've chosen the right one for this application, I would say.
And I would like to add that, what's great about the Mitsubishi system is that you can mix and match.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a room, like let's say we are talking about budget and we are trying to reduce costs, you can always put a wall-mounted unit in a room.
Yep.
Then you save the costs on ducting and such, or later on. If let's say like the home that I just showed as an example, let's say later on they decide, you know what, I really want to zone off that one bedroom and have my own zone in there. Well, we can come back and we can put a ceiling cassette in or a wall mounted unit even. and run it off of the same system and use it for that room.
Yeah, the outdoor units, it depends on the model and the capacities, but some of them can handle up to 8 or 10 indoor units.
Mm-hmm. So, well, and Sarah, it looks like we still have some questions, no?
No, I think that's all.
Okay, because I'm seeing, oh, well, maybe it's just because I haven't read them. I'm seeing.
Oh,
Okay. Well, I hope that everybody had fun, and I think we did a good job. I think Ken did a wonderful job of making HVAC sexy again.
I did my best.
You know, I just want to thank everybody for let's see, it looks like there was another. Oh, thanks, Dawn. Thank you. You know, we're doing these presentations, these webinars every other week, and we are really intending them to be, of course, it's, you know, we're talking about our homes that we build, but we also intend to share a lot of information for anyone, for any survivor. Our number one reason why we're here is to help survivors get back on track. So if you have friends that aren't sure what they're going to do, or you know, maybe they are sure of what they're going to do, we're not here to pitch or do a hard sell. That's not why we're here. We're here to share information, and we feel like the information that we share is beneficial to anyone who's going through what you're going through. And we're happy to help, and we're happy to answer questions regardless of who you build with. That's what we're here to do. So, you know, reach out to us anytime with any questions, and I'll hand it back to Sarah to let her sign off officially.
yeah. Look at us at the hour mark for the first time ever. Usually this goes long. So this is a treat.
We're getting better at it.
Yeah, yeah. I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank you so much, Ken, for your time and for sharing the product. And with that, I guess we'll see you at the next one, everyone.
What's the topic next time?
Well, that's a good question.
I thought we
We're going to be talking more in depth about our non-combustible materials.
okay. All right, sounds good.
Yeah. All
And
right.
maybe we'll talk a little bit about design. Maybe that's what I think.
That we did
Talk about the design process a little bit more in depth, maybe.
Sounds like a plan. Kendra, you're on the hook.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.